Use eBay long enough and you're bound to run into some very common myths about selling on the platform. Let me run you through a few that you're likely to hear most often but that are just plain false. Ignoring these myths will save you time, money, and heartache when selling on eBay, so listen up. First, inevitably you will hear some reseller tell you that you're wasting your money buying boxes because the post office gives you boxes for free. Well, that's true. You can pop into any post office or go to USPS.com and order a slew of free boxes in a variety of sizes to use for shipping, but they are not free. Yes, it's true you don't have to pay up front for these boxes, but when you use them, you have to ship using priority service, which quite often is more expensive than the other options like Ground Advantage or Media Mail if your sold item qualifies. So the cost savings you get in obtaining the USPS boxes for free is often lost in the increased fees that come with using priority service when some other service is way cheaper. And don't even bother with the free USPS flat rate boxes. They are almost never worth it unless you've sold an item that is both very small and very heavy. I haven't used one of these in years. And of course, you can't use these free USPS boxes when shipping through UPS or FedEx, so again, the types of items that make sense to ship using priority service are relatively narrow. These days, most things I ship go through Ground Advantage or occasionally FedEx if they are larger or heavier, so these priority boxes don't get used very often. My recommendation is to keep a few of the free ones on hand in a variety of sizes for the cases where your sold items are best suited for priority shipping service, but invest in a variety of unbranded boxes and envelopes to be used for cheaper services and other carriers. Even though you're paying for these boxes, you'll likely save more money in the long run by shipping them using cheaper services. And while you absolutely should reuse boxes and envelopes that you get in the mail from places like Amazon, I also recommend you don't spend too much time hunting around for free boxes behind Walmart or similar. Remember, your time has value too, and that time is probably better spent on more fun and lucrative parts of the reselling process like sourcing. Outside of reusing boxes and envelopes I get from Amazon and similar, I buy boxes in a variety of sizes from a local supplier. Most big cities have them and they will end up being way cheaper than any online sources like Uline because you can skip the shipping costs and pick them up locally. I sell across all categories, so I like to keep a wide variety of box sizes on hand. My most common sizes are 18 by 16 by 6, 12 by 12 by 12, 12 by 12 by 6, 10 by 6 by 8, and 8 by 6 by 4. Another common myth you will hear is that you will lose money by offering free shipping. In fact, this myth is so common I made an entire video about it a few months back, but thought it was worth mentioning again. Free shipping is not free. All it means is you are taking the market value of an item and increasing it by the amount it will cost to ship to your buyer, and then charging that buyer the total amount as one lump sum. It does not mean that you, as the seller, pay for the cost to ship the item to your buyer. It can be a bit tricky to offer free shipping and not lose money though. At the time of listing, you have to have a good understanding of the maximum amount of money it will cost to ship any given item anywhere your business policies are configured to allow. I happen to live in the middle of the US, which means my maximum cost to ship is relatively economical. Where you live and what you sell will determine the complexity of offering free shipping, and you may find that it is so complex it is not worth it for you, or that the maximum cost to ship something drastically increases the total purchase price for other potential buyers who live closer to you, causing you to lose out on sales. Free shipping is not for everyone, but if you can make it work, buyers tend to like it. But remember, it is not free, so don't get caught covering the cost to ship your items to your buyers. Make them pay. The next one is especially common with new sellers. When eBay first started, it was all about auctions, but over time, the platform and buyer expectations shifted. eBay introduced the buy it now list type, Amazon rose to prominence in the e-commerce space, and buyer expectations meant that people want their item now, and they don't want to wait around for 7 days for an auction to end before maybe being able to buy it. But many new sellers still think that's how you list your items on eBay, as an auction. Many sellers mistakenly think that buyers are going to magically get into a bidding war and pay more than the item's market value just because they put it up for auction. Those days of eBay are long gone. The other problem with auctions is that a buyer can win your auction and just decide not to pay, which happens way too often. There's basically no significant repercussions for buyers like this. So when you run auctions, you're faced with an ongoing cycle of listing and waiting 7 days for bids to hopefully come in, and then for the auction to end, waiting several more days with no payment until the non-payment claim can be refiled, and then you can finally relist your item only to repeat that annoying process over and over and over again. So the auction format on eBay should not be used very often. It should only be used when you're selling an item that meets these three conditions. First, it should be difficult to determine the market value because it is rare or unique. Items that have a very clear market value are not good candidates because people know what they are worth, and they are unlikely to pay more than that. Second, the supply for the item must be low. If there are 500 active listings for the exact same item, it is unlikely that it's going to be a good candidate for auctions, especially if the market value is known. This is because a buyer is more likely to choose a buy it now listing and not wait around for your auction to end to maybe be able to buy it. Finally, the demand for an item needs to be high. You want to use auctions when there are many potential buyers who want your one-of-a-kind thing. If there is no demand, you won't get any bids, or worse, you'll only get one bid. I made an entire video about when to use auctions versus buy it now, so check it out up top or under the like button below if you're interested in that. Once upon a time, getting negative feedback as a seller on eBay was a big deal and something you tried to avoid at all costs. Fortunately, those days are long gone. Despite what you may think or hear, getting negative feedback doesn't really matter too much anymore, and in fact, if you sell enough stuff on eBay, it's bound to happen eventually. I recommend you don't sweat it too much. As long as you're an upstanding seller who describes their items accurately, takes time to ship things without causing breakage, provides generally helpful customer service, you need not worry about getting negative feedback. Don't fall into the trap of kowtowing to grumpy and demanding buyers because you want to avoid getting that dreaded red dot. And if a buyer tries to get you to do something by threatening to leave negative feedback, that is your cue to ignore them, because it is against eBay's policies for buyers to do this, and you can use that evidence to have the feedback removed if they follow through with their threats. However, there are plenty of buyers out there who know how to demand some action from you without actually threatening to leave negative feedback. These buyers are the most crafty and dangerous of them all, but with time you will know how to spot them from a mile away. Most will complain of something not being as described and ask about getting some amount of money back. My recommendation is to always refuse any partial refunds and always confidently and professionally offer to accept a full refund once the item is returned to you. Most buyers who have a legitimate claim will happily do so, and the ones who are fishing for a partial refund almost always will not. Be extra careful when selling something like a VCR or tape player or handycam. It can be common for cunning buyers in these categories to claim that their precious wedding videotape from 1993 or baby's first steps were eaten by your fully tested but somehow faulty device and has destroyed their irreplaceable vintage memories. Over my time selling VCRs on eBay, I can't tell you how many wedding tapes I've apparently destroyed. When a buyer sends me this message, I let them know how sorry I am and that I'd be happy to refund their money in full once they open a return and send it back, but not a single one has. So stop worrying about getting negative feedback. Stand up for yourself as a seller. Be respectful to your buyers, but don't let them walk all over you just to avoid negative feedback. And if you do get negative feedback, which again, if you sell on eBay long enough, it will happen. It's not going to kill your business. I'm currently sitting at a 98.9% rating and it hasn't hurt me one bit. Did I miss any other big eBay selling myths? Let us know in the comments and thank you for watching.